mid laners straight off of the board. I'm not surprised to see the Nico go as well. The only final thing you kind of expect to see banned away is the Rumble. That tends to be the first pick. I was going to say B1, the first pick, if you don't ban that one out. But that top tier of mid laners being taken off the board potentially opens us up for something really exciting coming through, something a little bit different now, and it keeps the option of something explosive happening later on available too.
Well, there goes that Rumble you were talking about. So the way things are situated, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, the Rise was the one outlier, the mid laners that were left up. So Xiaohu going to comfortably get himself on a mid laner that everybody's been playing. But what does this mean for the BLG turn? I suspect some jungle will come out here.
Yeah, they've been really heavily leaning into just aggressive ganking junglers that can give you some pretty good team fights. Your Jarvins, your Wukongs of the world, that's been where they've really been looking on towards. Interesting that the Pantheon was taken off already. However, yeah, as much as we could talk about what you want to do in jungle, and it may well be the second pick here, it's just the best ADC that you've got. The versatility that you've got, and just how good Viper is on this Varus is just explodes the priority of it so high.
Cannot ever discount that Varus. Glad you made that point here. And, well, you know, I'm going to fall for a bit of a hover. You know what? I was speaking into existence. We're not going to talk about it yet because I think we're going to get a jungle pick. Regardless, the point I want to make here is I think whatever BLG do end up going with is going to play into that sort of all-out. You trolls. They just went back to the. Okay, this fits into that sort of BLG playstyle, right? Bloxxer, we're going to play press coverage all across the map, try and get everywhere we can, take up space, and play for mid-game power spiking. Taliyah Varus definitely fit that build very well.
Absolutely, and it just gives you that roam potential alongside the Rise. You're not going to be left behind in any of these situations. It means you're not with any level of deficit during your laning phase as well. The response could well be the Yunara. Again, one of those top-tier ADC picks, and that makes me so excited. The fact that we get Viper on his Varus and Elk onto this Yunara is going to be so very exciting. Now, both of these teams have got roaming mid laners. They've got ADCs that really need front lines ahead of them, so you've got to be very careful here to not leave your support or your top lane picks too late into this draft if you don't want things taken away from you. I love the idea of the Jarvan right now. For Yunara, being able to just shoot fish in a barrel is excellent.
So immediately here for Jiejie, you've got a Taliyah that cannot get out of a Cataclysm unless there's a flash, and a Varus that cannot get out of a Cataclysm unless there's a flash. So I'm glad you pointed out the Jarvan. Bloxxer, I'm right there with you. A lot of intrinsic value, but we'll see what the jungle response looks like here for Xun. Again, Bloxxer said it. BLG like to play junglers that can kind of look to gank early, set up skirmishes. So that vibe fits, again, right into the Bilibili playstyle.
It does very much, but at the same time, you are now very much locking yourself into the earlier stages of the game. The Vi falls off much, much harder than the Jarvan ever is going to. It also, I think, is going to really need a dive buddy. We've seen far too many times throughout this LPL split and plenty of years prior where you have someone like Xun on this Vi and they go, right, I'm going to go in. They go in, they instantly die, and, well, cool. Thank you for your participation during this team fight. A lot less likely to happen with the Jarvan. Neither of these teams have any sort of real tank, and I think that's what they need to be focusing on into this next round to give these junglers, both of them, but very specifically the Vi, a dive buddy to play alongside.
I feel like the support role is where we can start to figure out some of those pieces. I do think the Lulu ban makes a ton of sense. I believe that's the most common pairing we usually see with that Yunara, that hyperscale style marksman. So that's a simple ban here. But for Weibo, are you expecting, you know, to kind of get rid of some of those support dive buddies? Because I don't think there's a lot of top laners that are really going to be able to follow this Vi up like you're looking for.
I mean, you have always got the potential of just the standard engage supports. They've all been pretty strong recently. Teams have also been looking at the Rakan. They haven't been fully committing to it. A couple games here and there for both of these supports. It can work as a dive buddy, but it's a lot less committal than something like the Poppy, for instance. You are going in. You're going to go fight with someone. The Alistar too, who you are going in, and that can be really fun. Still, both of these team compositions would need a little bit of non-committal engage. Weibo have it way worse in terms of non-committal engage. Right now, they kind of just are the Jarvan going on and leaping in. So in that situation, I think I'm a little bit surprised to see this Nautilus ban. I think they could have benefited from something like the Nautilus here.
Yeah, maybe just want to take away the lane threat of a Varus and Nautilus together, but I'm with you. They definitely need, you know, maybe like a Leona fits well here. I keep thinking non-committal engage. Solar Flare is like the first thing that always screams out of my head whenever I hear non-committal engage. So we'll see if Erha decides to go that route. We saw a couple of top laners taken down. Very staple picks here, the Renekton and the Ambessa. but do we have? I mean, this is the fever, the Bard fever that has been sweeping our supports, and I could not be happier. We've seen Vampire, we've seen Kyle, and now On says, I want to take a shot at a playoff Bard appearance.
He's already played one in his previous matchup, and he had 5 games on it during the regular split too. It's been one of his most played champions this split, and I do like it alongside the Varus. The Varus can sit quite far back in lane. You don't have to worry so much about being able to go and roam around, and it does kind of give you that non-committal engage if you're able to hit that ulti. Now, hitting that ulti is always going to be the problem. Over on the side of Weibo, as we've been talking about non-committal engage, and like you said, the Solar Flare can be really great. Looks like that is going to be the lock-in. So you've got yourself your non-committal engage, your committal engage. Up in the top lane, you're pretty open. It is just going to be a little bit of a blind pick right here, though, so I do wonder if you want to go for something a little bit safer overall right now as Zika. He has had the Embesser look pretty good for him. Oh, that one's banned away. Never mind. Maybe... Whoa.
Oh,
no.
All right. Well, this would very much transform the Weibo comp. And also, the value of this Kennen, I mean, it's kind of hard to counterpick this Kennen for lane, right, Bloxxer?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, when you already need some specific pieces for BLG, this is the problem, right? As much as you would want to just take a specific counter pick right here into the Kennen, can you afford it in this team composition? I like the hover on towards the J, saying, hey, I can try go ban for ban, I can try go toe for toe, but I don't think you can do that.
I hate this.
Is the other option where you try to push the Kennen and say, hey, Kennen, you're always going to just go get involved in the lane. That's fine, Zika. I don't care. I'm going to be off in a side lane pushing through towers. I agree, though. I very much prefer what Weibo have been able to build for themselves.
So, Bloxxer, here's my thinking, right? Because very smart logic on your part. Take the Kennen out. Make sure that you can't have that big teamfight ultimate. But then you look at the 4v4. Again, early to mid-game, the pick potential of this BLG comp is there. But at a certain point, I think the Weibo 4v4 is still stronger without the Kennen team fighting, especially scaling into the game later. So BLG have really kind of pigeonholed themselves into the effectiveness of this comp already to start out our series.
Yeah, very much so. They have got themselves into a very narrow band in which this composition can really work for them, right? You are in the early to mid game looking for as many ganks out of Jun as possible. Try to get yourself ahead. You can roam alongside the Tilia, so that does at least work right there. Bard as well, very unlocked from lane, looking to roam around. So you may well have a 3-man death squad, but at the same time, you're not necessarily expecting Weibo to not be able to respond to that. Jiejie should be able to get around the map pretty easily as well. Same thing with Xiaohu, so you're not really going to be able to just out-rotate your opponents. You've got 15 minutes right here as BLG to get ahead. Otherwise, you lose in the 4v4, you lose in the 5v5. You're really just relying on split pushing being very strong, and we just haven't seen teams get that far ahead. Viper does a lot of damage late, so does Knight. That's kind of the only thing you're looking at here.
All right, definitely an intriguing draft, but we are onto the Rift for the first time tonight, and that means it's time to queue up some playoff GIFs. All right. You know, I like the energy. I always try to decide who I think wins. I don't know. I think it's pretty close. Let's see how the Jiejie evolve as this series goes. Is classic bottom lane already looking for pretty aggressive trades here, but it's Viper and On that get out much more comfortable health-wise, and that's going to be very key as we continue to track Bloxxer, like you talked about in draft. BLG need to get ahead fast and never look back.
Yeah, very much so. This whole composition very reliant on getting as much going early on as possible. Now, there's potential for explosive lanes all across the board. We've seen the ability for both of these mid laners to find their solo kills. Top laners as well in this matchup can be getting pretty aggressive. And we do also have this split start from the junglers looking to work towards opposite sides of the map. I think that's pretty interesting. If you can get involved early on in the top lane of Jun, that can really put this matchup over into your favor. It still is going to be Yorick favored in terms of the pure 1v1 once you get towards that first couple items, but at this early stage right here, the range advantage that you get as the Kennen is just going to be huge, and I love that we've got something so different. I feel like when we were talking earlier about the differences we've got in draft, how much flexibility teams have, top lane has been pretty stagnant overall. This is a nice little change.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm going to be the play-by-play guy for a moment here, Bloxxer. Team fights are a lot more fun when you got a Kennen involved, right? So
That's true. That's true.
You sold me at that point, right? So it is worth mentioning, though, pairing into that top lane conversation, that this is the one lane where I would expect Weibo to be a lot more comfortable, but Zika gets trapped in the play place early, has to burn the lightning rush, and nearly had a flash away from Bin, who had a solo kill as we go over to the other solo lane. Xiaohu gets seismic shoved right back into Knight, has to burn the ghost. Now has to flash as he's nearly 1 Q away from death. And Weibo have decided that Jiejie is going to be the response, looking for a dive here. The stun lands into the flag and drag. That was beautifully comboed. Viper flashes trying to find a trade, but it's a sick dodge coming out from Erha. And all of a sudden, Weibo come out with first blood.
There we go, Weibo. They said, hey, as much as you want the early game BLG, we can do better. And they managed to get themselves that early kill off. Now, Xun looking to go for a little bit of a flank around, I think Xiaohu, he despite a sense of tingly, he knows something's up.
All right, that blast cone is a very safe haven for Xiaohu. Unless he goes right back over the mid lane wall. All right, I thought Shu was going to punish him. There was still some caster minions left up there. But nonetheless, Sun will just look to steal away some camps. And wow, this game has gone completely topsy-turvy to everything we outlined in draft already, Bloxxer.
I mean, I'm not majorly surprised that we get to see some early explosivity in these lanes. The fact that you get that initial dive kill for Weibo is huge, though. We've been talking about how much the mid laners and the ADCs are going to be crucial in this matchup, and getting that initial kill onto Elk on the Yunara, the best ADC, second best ADC potentially that we've seen throughout the entirety of this split, is going to be massive for him. It's also just in a matchup where you want to get a little bit further ahead because you've got all of the setup available to you. Weibo has built a composition that works perfectly to tee this up for Elk.
Speaking on that setup, we saw so many summoners obviously burned through these early trades. And there's a lot of setup for reganks, right? The fact that we don't have flash on Jiejie, Xiaohu, Erha have lost them. Vipers now without flash on this immobile Varus. So I expect that the chaos of the early game will continue from both of our junglers once they obviously finish off their very wacky clears thanks to the early game escapades.
And this is also very early on for them to be getting involved, as you expect, but in the next couple of minutes, that's when these mid laners, that's when these supports are really going to be unlocked from their individual lanes and can go and get involved elsewhere on the map. You can see already On going for a roam around, pick himself up a couple of the chimes and see what he can find as well. Once we do fully get these supports and mid laners unlocked from their lanes and moving alongside their junglers, that's going to be massive. Obviously, you've got yourself a Drake coming up in a couple of seconds, the Grubs coming up as well soon, and that can be some really big explosive moments for both these teams.
We'll see if On can help give BLG that edge with that roaming bard. We already saw him go out for a bit of a chime check here, but the stakes are still Elk with a sizable goal lead, grabbing himself that first blood, and ever aggressive looking for the trade. Elka player, our first team all-pro AD carry, and there is no bigger test in the playoffs than going up against Viper. And it's going to be so fun to watch these two go blow for blow as the series goes on. But for now, we have the Dragon being started here by Weibo. Piercing arrow from Viper. Not going to go for the steal, and it's just going to be secured by Jiejie. Poke damage comes out onto Elk, but it's Weibo still playing very proactive in the early game.
And this is something that they really turned around on as well. Once they got their play back together during the mid of the split, On looking to roam up. I don't know if he knows how many people are in that bush.
Yeah, good call, Bloxxer. He was not expecting to see a Zenith Blade come out of that barrage. Jiejie does secure away that Gromp. Shun and On shouldn't be punished too heavily for their transgressions, thanks to the fact that Elk was on that reset. But all this pressure in that jungle means that Knight is able to start garnering himself a gold lead as he nearly finds 2 early plates off of that turret. And the mind games, of course, starting.
God, Knight is such an oppressive laner. That's really been the most impressive bit of his gameplay for me. I think Xiaohu's been a little bit better during the actual team fights, but Knight gets himself so much of an advantage straight out of the laning phase that he then is able to translate onto the rest of the map. Kind of no better champion for him to be able to do that than on this Talia. We'll see if he's going to be able to get involved on the rest of the map. Now he has ticked over to that level 7. We've got ourselves a minute and a half until the Grub spawns. Resets coming through from the mid laners, from the bot laners. I don't know if we're necessarily expecting to see the full 5 rotate up, but I wouldn't be surprised to see these supports try to get themselves a little bit of control in the bottom lane and then start moving.
Zika certainly against top lane traditions would also maybe try and find himself an avenue to leave the lane, but back over to why this Yorick pick works is you can see that Zika has constantly been farming under his turret, especially now that Ben has access to that Maiden. So the early thing to track for top lane is going to be how does Zika find himself a way out. On is looking for a nice little tether into the Chains of Corruption. It has to force out the barrier from Elk. There are no ultimate on this Yunara. but Elk is able to walk back out thanks to Erha's peel, and now Xiaohu and Jiejie, they're looking for the round warp in. Shun is in the area, but this is a 4v3, and now a 4v2 is Viper and On are going to use the portal to get themselves all the way out. On gets knocked up and hit into the Rune Prism, but he still doesn't take enough damage. Finally, Elk will step up and find that second kill. Good little try there from On with the Bard trickery, but it's a 2-0 LQ Nara to open our game.
And this is exactly what you didn't want to have happen early on for BLG, falling behind in the bottom lane and just not able to get involved in that play at all. Knight, he sticks around in the mid lane, tries to push through a wave, then go and roam down, and he's just too late to even pop the Weaver's Wall. Yes, he's going to be able to push this full wave in under a tower, maybe pick himself up a second turret plate, but that is not going to be worth it for getting Elk another kill. And this is all off of the back of some very early aggression coming through out of the BLG bot lane. The problem is, when the scoreboard was up, you could see the items sat in Viper's inventory. He had a serrated dirk and a longsword, I think, maybe a blade. Just no real damage available to him at this point, and at least you've got yourself the portal. I really like this from Viper as well. He waits a really long time to take that portal so that he doesn't also get knocked up. Yes, your support still dies, but at least you don't lose 2 kills.
Yeah, that's the support's job. Dying for your AD carry. That's like job number 1 of this role description. It's still, though, definitely worrying for BLG. All we said during draft was very small window of effectiveness early to mid-game. And being behind gold in general is going to be that big problem, but luckily for Bilibili Gaming, their solo lanes have done some of the heavy lifting here, both sporting gold leads of their own, and mostly doing that through turret plates or maybe a creative dive here with cease and desist up. That cancel back might screw over Zika, but it's okay. Jiejie is here to cover. Weaver's Wall comes across, and hey, it's still a numbers advantage over BLG. There is the slicing Maelstrom, the stuns land, but the seismic shove comes across first, and Knight's able to flash out despite the turret aggro. They won't find the second kill onto Jiejie, but the fact they're able to come away with a 1-0 dive like that is promising.
There we go, and the kill also going over to Knight, exactly where you want that gold to be. I'm glad that we get to see some early on aggression out of BLG to counter what Weibo was able to do on the map. Still, they end up very low health off the back of that play, and they know Jiejie is in the area, so nobody goes straight towards those grubs, and we may well get another fight at these in the next couple of seconds.
We'll have to see here. It's going to be a lot harder for Weibo. The fact that they don't have that Slicing Maelstrom ultimate. But you did lose Weaver's Wall and Cease and Desist, so we'll have to see here. It is Shun. And the flashes, of course, right? Shun, though, is still going to take his time and start up the grubs. This was spotted by Weibo. They at least saw him take the skull. They have to think, all right, he could go after the grubs right after, but Jiejie instead clearing out some vision in the mid lane. They're going to catch On, trying to roam on over. Zenith Blade's going to bring Erha over the portal. He puts down the Solar Flare as well. On going to get rooted up thanks to Xiaohu, who should be able to find this very critical kill. So BLG dominating the top side, but it's Weibo's scaling units that have all 3 kills.
I like the mind games right there. As BLG, you're expecting to have a couple members of Weibo roam up to try to... Hang on, Jun. Get himself in pretty deep, potentially looking for another dive right here. Zika, yeah, he recognizes that he probably doesn't want to step up too close now. Still, he has to catch this wave or he's going to be so far behind.
Yeah, but with Slicing Maelstrom, it makes a dive even 2 versus 1 very, very cautious.
How about 3?
So they make it a 3v1. Yeah, good call there, Bloxxer. They're going to bring Knight right back on over. Zika's going to go into the Lightning Rush to get some move speed. Good dodge on that first Q, but it's the seismic shove of Knight that is the death warrant of Zika, no matter how much of a miss that was from Shun.
Yeah, I mean, we could say miss, we could say dodge. Either way, it's still just going to be the door slamming shut with Knight right there. And I really like what BLG are doing. They found a lane they could play through. They keep going for it. Erha looking to get aggressive. I wonder if you can wait a second. Yeah, for someone to go away.
Perfect time
Lovely.
from Erha. His Zenith Blades have been so on point. And who's going to be the real victor of it? Not just Weibo. More importantly, Xiaohu, who is now 2-0. Both of Weibo's main carries super accelerated.
And we were talking in the early game about how important it was going to be for BLG to get themselves some sort of early lead so that they can play around this slightly more aggressive composition, sit in 4v5 situations potentially, and still be able to win them with the split push coming through from Bin. Yes, they've been able to get themselves a couple of kills on tonight onto Jun, but they've not been able to stop anything Weibo wants to do so far. And I feel like we have to shout out sort of the common denominator throughout all of these Weibo kills, which has been Erha. Erha has been so good so far right here on this Leona, all over the map, and I love that little bit of tech right there. Just wait a second. They probably didn't press their B button at exactly the same time, and if you can catch one alone, you guarantee the kill.
Erha was a player that, you know, a lot of us Bloxxer last year were sort of upset to see him lose out on that starting spot with Weibo. We thought he was pretty impressive in his short time, so it's been really nice to see him earn that spot back, or I guess get the spot back he much deserved, right, Bloxxer? And continue that improvement as we're still looking for a lot of these younger supports to take over the mantle a lot of historical support leaders have had in the LPL for years to come.
Him and Vampire have been sort of the players you've been really watching ascend, rise into this next level of their careers, but sat here with Erha, such a player who, yeah, like you said, he really didn't get that fully deserved chance, we felt like, and it meant that coming into this split there were some pretty high expectations, and there was also just a lot of excitement around the Weibo team that didn't come through in the first couple of weeks. But again, as much as we've been talking about Xiaohu really getting comfortable again and finding his form, it feels like Erha has really come into his own as well. And as much as we've been praising Elk, you deserve to get praise as Elk. You can never ignore the support playing alongside him.
Yep, you certainly can't. As On wants to take center stage, hits the Temper Fate onto Xiaohu. Good flash, though, this time gets himself out of the seismic shove. We'll see if Bilibili can revisit that key cooldown off of the Weibo mid laner.
And that's just going to be a repeat gank angle if you can look for it. You've obviously got quite a lot of aggressive picks from BLG that can go try to hunt onto Xiaohu if he finds himself stood a little bit too far forwards. We've now got ourselves a minute until the Rift Herald is going to be popping up, and you'd love to be able to grab yourself the Rift Herald right here as BLG. Begin taking down these towers, unlock Bin to get himself into some other lanes, and just keep the pressure on going.
Oh my god.
Elk.
He had no clue. He must have been sitting in that brush for nearly a minute, and Elk is going to burn his barrier flash and ult. He had no idea until he was dead. Great find there between Shun and Knight.
That was just so sneaky. They didn't manage to get in behind him, and as much as you say, hey, you're waiting in a bush for a while, that's definitely going to be worthwhile. The flash right there, I think, is quite bold.
Yeah.
Maybe you get away. It does burn Jun's flash as well, but this is a Vi. Vi does not care about flash anywhere near as much as this Yunara is going to, and with a very critical bit of the mid game coming up right now, we've got Rift Herald coming up in 30 seconds time, you've got the next Drake in a minute and 30 seconds time. You're now not going to have this flash for these two big fights that could well be game defining.
Oh, that was a game defining turret take. First turret down thanks to Bin, and we're starting to settle into that classic BLG playstyle. It kept them even in those kills, but it's really the objectives, both in turrets and monsters, that have really set them apart here. It's kind of perfect, right, Bloxxer? Exactly how these two drafts we wanted to see them play out. It's a lot of turrets and, you know, Void Grubs and Heralds here on the top side. Oh, hold on. This TP, oh man, Bin. No idea that both Erha and Jiejie are here. He flashes out of at least a Solar Flare, gets trapped in the Cataclysm, but the turret's doing a lot of work here. Xiaohu down about half HP. They have to TP Zika in with the Slicing Maelstrom. 3 versus 1 wasn't good enough. 4 versus 1 will get the job done.
Yeah, just a little bit of a brain switched off moment right there from Bin. He's going to die down in the bottom side of the map. Still, it does mean that you concede out onto the Rift Herald, and you lose out onto your mid lane and top lane towers during the course of those plays as well. Very much a split coming through on the map. BLG in firm control of the top side at the moment. Weibo, a lot better spot down on the bottom side of the map, but they get themselves that kill, do Weibo. Get a couple of resets coming on through. Key first items completed, well on the way to second items as well. This is kind of the point at which Weibo are beginning to want to fight as more than just individual picks, but more as a unit.
Well, this is a big point here for Weibo, though. That conversation I was trying to have earlier about how the game's going well for both teams, and this Dragon take would be big. Tempered Fate from On, he's going to stall it out. Knight puts down the Weaver's Wall. Herald's in here, so Shun get himself out, but can he win the 50-50? No! It's Elk that secures the Dragon. Shun goes in with a cease and desist, but he doesn't have any help. Xiaohu and Elk just turn it right back onto him. Through the portal goes Jiejie, maybe a bit too audaciously. He's going to flag a dragon and flash himself back out. Zika hits a huge piercing arrow. Flashes forward coming across here from On. Gets the kill onto Jiejie. Slow starting to stack. Xiaohu has to run with the phase rush. And Viper can't get close enough for any of these big piercing arrows. And Weibo are able to get themselves onto Soul Point for the small price of their jungler.
Well, we'll see what the full price is going to be in the end. Rift Herald on into the mid lane is actually going to be ridden right here by Viper. He thinks he can take Elkon in this situation. Is correct. It's just going to be able to walk away, not fully able to take down this tower. They will get bot lane tower too. We'll have a look back at this fight, because this fight should be won very easily by Weibo. They're very much getting into the point where their composition is starting to be strong. BLG are a little bit stronger. The smite fight is just a mistimed smite. It's good from Elk to be able to grab it. The key thing here, though, is look at where Bin is. He is not in the fight at all. Look at where Bin is in our picture-in-picture. He's in the gray screen.
Yep. And this is really going to hurt that sort of X factor of the comp, right? We needed this Yorick to be powerful in pulling Weibo's teamfight comp away.
Yep.
But that death, you know, not being there at this big fight, it's worrying because the gold's even, and now Weibo, I mean, they have the full bouquet of scaling factors on the scaling team, right?
Yep, very much so. And you haven't really gotten yourself any kind of advantage right here as BLG. It is pretty much a dead even in terms of the gold, which, you know, usually you're happy to be dead even in gold versus Weibo, but they've got themselves the scaling of all of the Drakes. You were able to get the Rift Herald and the Grub, so that is at least something. Erha knows that something is up in this team, in this bush. Okay.
And there's the big. But how many more members are behind Shun? That's the real question. Yep, it's everybody but Bin. Please don't fight over a red buff. All right, Erha wants to do it. He goes in, is going to get stunned up, chained up from Viper. The Tempered Fate lands on Xiaohu and Jiejie in the background. Good play there from On. Cease and Assist comes across into the seismic shove combo. Great little pick to find there by On. Does he go too far forward the portal? He runs into Elk, fully transcended, who gets the free hit on the Knight, but there isn't enough damage to make that a punish. Great find from On and BLG to clap right back.
You say great find, and I mean, they did capitalize well on what they were presented, but classic LPL moment right here from Weibo. Erha decides, yeah, we're going to go fight over the red buff. Now they're going to try to turn things around, and Bin, he should have known that something was coming. He's been here for so long.
I mean, yeah, he needs to understand that he is the clear only play left. All of BLG are on the top side. And that is one of the big problems we've had with some of Bin's gameplay this year, getting caught for very little. At the very least, Viper redeems it by getting a very valuable Tier 2 turret down. So, gold-wise, it actually ends up still in BLG's favor thanks to Viper.
It does indeed, and Weibo, they're lucky to have it be as even as it was after deciding to fight over a red buff for almost no reason. I think the only reason they were able to take that fight at the point at which they did was because there was still 1 minute and 20 seconds on the Baron. If you do that fight a little bit later on, you just immediately lose the Baron, and any semblance of a start you were getting together as Weibo was just going to immediately run away from them. Still, we take stock of things 20 minutes into the game as Baron joins us on the Rift. Small gold lead for BLG. Soul point though for Weibo, and a composition with 2 items completed pretty much across the board now that is fully getting online.
Yeah, Bloxxer Elk's Yunara is not far away from being game warping, and that is obviously the worrying trend here for BLG. It makes this marksman matchup so fun. It's what Elk has been able to do in these late game scenarios. You talked about it for Viper when we did the this or that bit, how he's been so on point when it comes to late game team fighting. But you would argue that our marksman matchup on the other side is the very same as On. Another Tempered Fate going to grab Xiaohu. Erha trying to play bodyguard, not letting anyone forward. On had himself a get out of jail free portal, as I like to call it. So that Tempered Fate won't manifest in anything further.
Now, and it's on a relatively short cooldown at this point as well, so you should have this one back up and available for the Drake fight. Worth throwing out in a lot of situations. More importantly, with all of the pressure we're able to push forwards right there, look at all of the vision down in the bottom side. BLG well and truly in control of the bottom side of the jungle. The same could be said for Weibo on the top side, but the Baron isn't really either of these teams' focuses right now. And for a BLG down soul point, it's so important to body block Weibo out of this quadrant of the map as much as possible.
Weibo know that this could really be the cherry on top of their scaling composition if they can pick up this dragon. They're trying to force their way in through the bottom side, but the flanks have already been set up. Look how high up Shun is. They spot Zika on the mid wave. So BLG have to feel pretty confident that they have control around this pit. Do they want to try and force a fight? They know it's 4v5 before that TP can come across. At the very least, they're going to start up the dragon. Bring the aggro on over. Jiejie, the king of steals, it feels like in this LPL split. Can he go for this one? Weaver's Wall's going to block him. They go after On instead. And Weibo, I think they're just going to sack this dragon. Jiejie goes for it, does not get it, and pays with his life. Too little, too late there from Jiejie. And it might cost Weibo a whole lot more than Soul Secure.
Yeah, I mean, this turnaround instantaneously from BLG heading straight on towards the Baron. You can see resets coming on through. It's quicker to just head back to base and sprint back out with home guards. Now, as much as you have lost your jungler, you can potentially still fight this one. Realm Warp in, they're going to go.
Yeah, they don't have Zika's TP for the flank. He's going to try and walk his way in. They don't have a smite. They have to look for this fight over thanks to the resistance shred. Zika needs a big slicing maelstrom. He's going to try and go in, gets the flash, goes after Viper. Immediate cleanse. Viper is out. Baron secured for BLG as the fight begins to break out. Big piercing arrow onto Zika. Xiaohu trying to kite back. Elk needs to do a lot of heavy lifting here, but Zika's already down. Elk tries to go after Oppo, uses the blast cone to get himself back out. Erha's down. All of Elk's teammates are falling around him, and there's nothing he can do to clean it up. It's on finding the multi-kill, and Bilibili Gaming breaking open game 1 with an ace.
There we go, BLG. They find the fight, and it looked so bad for a second. Weibo were storming in. They'd taken a reset. They had all of the tools available to them, but the fight gets split, and there was no way to be able to fight through that one. As Weibo, you just are pulled in too many different directions, and Elk, he can't pick one target to just shred down. When we get the replay, look at who he hits. It's one auto attack onto someone, one auto attack onto someone else. And it's just so rough. Zika, he finds the big fight, but the flash cleanse is available, so you're able to get yourself away as Viper. And then here, just watch what Elk is doing. He takes a good chunk out of On, but that's the support. He gets one hit right here onto Bin. Bin's able to turn around and walk away. He gets another hit onto On. He gets another hit onto Bin. There's no ability for him to just get a kill, and at this point, all of the remaining members of BLG form in and just stun him up, take him down.
It felt like a culmination of errors that just got worse and worse, right? That dragon fight, there's no reason for Jiejie to throw his life away to try and get soul when they have so many more chances. It leads into the Baron, and now all of a sudden, BLG are up 6k gold and counting, knocking down turret after turret. And despite all of their woes in the early game, the part of the game where we felt they had to succeed in, they are now right where they wanted to be, in control of our first match.
25 minutes into the game, this is the peak of the BLG composition power. Now with the Baron buff available to them, they need to make sure they crack open the base and get themselves as much advantage as possible because, as we've been saying, right, Weibo, they have the scaling advantage. They're going to be getting further and further back into this game, but right now as BLG, you are in control, and you just have to make sure not to make any silly mistakes. Silly mistakes are why Weibo are in the position that they are in. You said about that play down in the bottom side of the map around the dragon, and that was a bad play from them, but it's even further than that. It's fighting around that red buff for no reason that initially snapped any control they had. Good dodge from Erha.
Yeah, he's going to bring the Solar Flare back out. Jiejie's going forward, but they've rooted up Elk, and they've trapped him. A beautiful Chains of Corruption. Viper says no need for your hyper carry. They do find a kill on the background. Erha very low as well, and it's Xiaohu going right after Viper. He gets the Rune Prism down. He has the Seraph Shield to find that turn. Weibo doing some heavy lifting without their AD carry, but now they're sectioned off 2 parts apiece. Jiejie going to do flag and drag, but Bin slams him down with the shovel, and he's going to hunt him down with the ghouls and the maiden. Bin's revenge saves a messy fight for Bilibili Gaming.
Oh my lord, we were talking so much praise right here for Elk, but that's now 2 team fights in a row that he's not able to have the impact that he needs, and that is going to be the base cracked on open. Another one of the goals we've talked about for BLG winning this game has been ticked off, and with the resets coming on through, you have to imagine third item's going to be completed pretty much across the board.
Still a lot of stall value here for Weibo. As we go back through, I mean, does this feel like Weibo looking for something too aggressive?
I understand why you're looking for this fight right here. It's just that seismic shove just immediately ruins the team fight. Imagine if Elk is hitting right here. Look at this slicing maelstrom. It wrecks a couple members of BLG. If you've got any damage available from Elk whatsoever, this is potentially a one team fight for you. I don't think the engage is the wrong decision. You just have to have those faster reflexes, fancier feet. You die with flash up right here. That's just not good enough.
Then it's just the big man with his own army walking through the rest of Weibo. Xiaohu does a really good job to kill off Viper for that play. But Weibo are just still feeling like a fish out of water in this game. 7k gold deficit, but it is worth mentioning they don't lose an inhibitor, and they have dragons that they can trade for more time on the map to get more of those items through. So we still aren't. I still don't feel like Bloxxer that this is like a done and dusted BLG game.
No, very much not, and Weibo have shown us that they can fight back from almost any position. There's not a team who you put down early and then just are able to walk on over. This team can fight back, and BLG, they've shown us a couple throws here and there, right? No gold lead is fully out of range in the LPL. So you do have to very much keep on watching this one, as Weibo, they're going to be looking for any available opportunity to go on in, and Elk, he's going to be feeling like he needs to redeem himself, right? 2 team fights in a row, getting caught out, not able to play well for his team. For a man of his caliber, he's very much going to be looking for that next opportunity to pop off with the Yunara.
Maybe having Erha with him will help him. Thanks that Mikhails can get you out of a chains of corruption. Some other stuns coming across from Knight. Erha obviously has been very good at looking for these aggressive finds, but into a pick comp, I wonder if they'll try and have him play more protection versus engage for Erha, with the fact that BLG will be pushing forward. Back to your point, though, about, you know, gold leads are never safe in the LPL. I mean, just last night, if you were on the broadcast, we ran a lower third, highlighting JDG's ability in the playoffs alone to throw a gold lead. So maybe we'll see if it's just a JDG thing, but I feel like it's just an LPL playoffs thing. So keep that in mind.
It's an LPL thing. We have seen some egregious throws all throughout the years. Oh, Jun, gay, blast cones. This is why I think that the Chemtech Rift is my favorite. As much as the buff itself is a bit meh, I love the extended blast cones. I love the better versions of the healing plants. I think that's all very fun to play around. And I think BLG have to agree. They've been using these blast cones to great effect so far to get out of some pretty dicey situations.
I mean, On really defines that first Baron fight by getting away from Elk. With the blast cone himself. Yeah, it's a whole different fight, right? But in reality, we have our second Baron on the map here, and the split push really starting to affect Weibo's ability to try and play both sides of the map. Ben is going to get right back on this bottom lane wave and push it right up to that inhibitor turret, so Zika has to come over with TP, but it's that push and pull really starting to settle in here for BLG now.
I mean, every single time Zika tries to go join up with the rest of his team, he has to go catch this wave. You give a Yorick any alone time with a tier 3 tower, and you're going to end up with no inhibitor, and then you don't even have to potentially push that wave. You could just sit and allow it to happen. Knight.
Oh, he hits it. Xiaohu has to flash over the Weaver's Wall, and they get Zika's TP to come across here towards this top side.
Oh, boy.
No kills, but that's immensely valuable to this stretchy play from BLG. Bid will go right back towards the bot side.
And I love that roam up into the mid lane from Bim right there. He pushes that mid wave through, so you have to take more time to clear the mid wave, then move down to the bottom wave, and by the time you get there, he's going to be able to push that bot wave through as well. You are really getting pulled around the map. I mean, when the Yorick was picked, we were both like, I'm not so sure. I'm never sure of a Yorick. I think a lot of teams play it badly, but I often say, hey, if you're not Bin, don't pick it. Well, you are Bin in this situation, and so far, so good.
The math is checking out on that one.
Indeed.
Ben is certainly finding his peak effectiveness right now as he is playing decoy, dummy on the bot side, push, because my team is pushing the attack onto this Baron. And Weibo, I mean, they have an inkling.
Is he just gone?
But Jiejie doesn't get anywhere near this. The tempered fade from On is perfectly timed just in case there was any sort of 50-50. BLG are going to get this Baron. Weibo are going to make it a problem to try and get a fight on the backside, but it's a portal out from On, and BLG can just exit stage right. Weibo really sputtering to find any sort of play on the map. They're going to trade a Baron for a tier 1 turret mid lane.
Yeah, and I mean, they might get collapsed upon right here. Need to be careful to get away. They don't even pick themselves up this mid lane tier 1 tower. And Jun hunting, potentially looking to just press ulti and go flying in. Needs to be careful. Pretty squishy at the moment, although, of course, it does have the GA.
Yeah. You kind of throw caution to the wind when you pick up the GA. Still looking forward. Knight gets the Weaver's Wall down, but all the carries get on the right side of it. And we'll back up towards the base, but BLG, they are not letting off the gas. They are putting pedal to the metal as they'll finally look to try and knock down some inhibitors. And, well, they've got a wave aptly placed in the top side as well. Weibo will sack the mid lane inhibitor to try and protect these side turrets, but, again, they're going to stretch thin. Top turret is going to stay up, but bottom tier 3 goes down. Are they going to look for a play onto Bin? No, Zika doesn't even get close enough with that lightning rush. Weibo are just bleeding, and at some point, when are you going to fight back as that cornered animal?
Look at the poke coming through right here. Between Knight and Viper, they are constantly landing that
Elk.
poke.
They get onto Elk, but Zika goes forward with a huge slicing maelstrom. Viper has to cleanse, flash himself back out. The Cataclysm goes down, onto On. Zika finds that first kill, and now Elk can step up. He's starting to pump up the damage with his Transcendence. Sun goes into the stasis, but he is as good as dead. BLG, they poked the beast a little bit too much, and now Weibo are looking for more. There's the Realm War forward, but a huge piercing arrow from Viper makes it a problem. Jiejie gets the flag and drag. Bin knocked up. Elk finally joining the fight, trying to be the big damage, but Viper gets Xiaohu over the wall, and Bin flashes out to safety. Everybody overexerting themselves, but Weibo may have gotten themselves a lifeline in their own base.
Yeah, they're going to sprint on out. They're looking to pick themselves up this soul point still. Look in their base right here. They've got super minions knocking on the doors. The TP, they're going to look to end.
TP coming across. That spin, he's going all the way after the base, and Viper stalling out all of Weibo. They gambled after the dragon, and they're going to trade soul for the game. Gigabin with the Giga TP to get BLG a 1-0 lead.
Oh, Slayer, when we said that this was going to be a banger of a game, when we said it was going to be a banger of a game, holy. I mean, that couldn't have ended better.
Oh, Bloxxer, why have we had another soul for game trade, man? We can't keep doing this.
It's worth it, bro. It's worth it.
Yeah.
So
they didn't even get it.
They didn't
even get it. Man. Oh. What a game. What a start. I mean, how else do you react to that?
Yeah. Yeah, this is what you tune into the LPL for, right? This is the kind of games that you're looking for. This is what we were expecting out of the BLG Weibo series, but God, that has to be extra upsetting right here if you are Weibo, because you're sat in a situation where, yeah, the early game wasn't... You found a couple kills, but you weren't able to get yourself too much of a lead. That's fine. The mid game was going bad. You make a couple of bad mistakes. Okay, whatever. You're probably thinking, we're going to lose this game, but we know what we need to do right for the next game. But then Zika finds that moment, and that should have been fully a win. I don't know if we're going to see a replay because of everything that happened, but the decision right at the end from Weibo to go for that fight is good, but the realm walk forward, it doesn't take enough members. You only end up taking Jiejie and Erha with you, I think, and they don't deal anywhere near enough damage to be able to do anything.
Well, it was Jiejie and Xiaohu, but it was Viper. We'll see in the replay, right? But it was Viper over the wall out of fog that hits a huge empowered piercing arrow that takes out Xiaohu that ruins it. But the conversation I want to have with you, Bloxxer, about that whole thing, and the caveat being it's the heat of the moment, right? When you win a fight, you want to like take everything on the map. But if Weibo, is it just better in your mind if they win that fight in their base and then you say, all right, we've got waves to cover, we've got gold to spend. It's not even soul secure for them. It's not even soul point for BLG if we go after that dragon. Would it have just been better if they take their win and play for another battle?
Very much so. I mean, obviously, the way it worked out as we saw it was the worst possible option because you don't get the soul and you do just die and you don't even find that fight. But there's a lot of different decisions all involved in that one right there. You needed the initial fight, and it was huge from Zika to be able to get that slicing maelstrom into the back line. This is what you pick the champion for. We've seen Bin have a pretty good game overall on that Yorick. He got caught on the sidelines a couple times, but Bin's been known for that throughout this split and kind of his whole career at certain points. But that initial fight is really good. Then you can decide, let's not keep pushing forwards. If you do decide to keep pushing forwards, you have to full commit. The fact you only get 2 people taking that realm warp is not good enough. You have 4 members still available. All of them have to take that portal and go to try and get involved. And then at the end, not recognizing that you've got yourself super minions in base, even if they hadn't had that teleport come in from Bin, I think the super minions might still win the game.
I mean, I'm trying to think back. I think once he actually landed, they had taken the second Nexus turret down.
Yes,
so I think you're right.
They were just hitting the tower. Like they were just hitting the Nexus. The Winions may well have come through either way. Still, looking at this screen quickly, holy moly, the amount of damage that Viper did. That poke was disgusting.
I mean, you just can't give a guy this caliber Varus. No. You just can't. And you got to think for a guy like Viper, right? He comes in to this year, and he's heralded, including by myself, as like the messiah to bring the championship, a world's championship, back to the LPL on another stacked team that is already known to get pretty close to their own world title. And what happens in Split 1? He doesn't even perform as the best AD carry. You got to think, you got to feel slighted, right? And it's already starting to show up in this matchup, especially that one catch he makes onto Elk at the base fight towards the top side. Man, Viper's playing with a vengeance.
He very much is, but it was the full just poke coming down constantly that was so good, and it's the fact that Knight also was hitting constantly onto his opponents as well. A few seismic shoves out of Knight as well that kind of sealed the deal. One that he was able to land onto Elk that ruined what was looking like a pretty good team fight for Weibo. And the fact that you've got these 2 superstars between Knight and Viper playing together so well is super exciting to see. If you're just a general LPL fan rather than a specific fan of any team and you just want an LPL team to take home a title, BLG feel like the sort of team, as you were saying, that could potentially do that. Looking through these replays right here, I'm struck time and time again by how much Elk just wasn't quite able to turn it on in any of these fights.
I don't think he's going to get player of the game and there were some spots where I think Allen does something stuff shaky, but I love how he embodied the Bard vibe, where it's like, I am the peskiest guy on the Rift. Like, he always like, no, you're not going to get me. I've got a blast guard, I've got a portal, I'm going to stun you on the way out, I'm going to find you with these tempered fates. I'm just so glad, Bloxxer, that our region is showing off such high-level Bard gameplay.
Yeah, the fact that the Bard has been all over the map at this point, and you get to see it in so many different games, is really fun, because good Bard play and bad Bard play are very close. I think Bard play might be the thinnest line between good and bad, and this was a lot of good. Still, this situation right here, we have to talk about it. This is the turning point.
Let's see the portal, because, that's, like...
Why do you do it like this?
So they had themselves 3 kills... But I mean, bam, look at that piercing arrow Bloxxer. It's this one over the wall, too.
Yes, this one.
It's perfectly timed, I bet, too. Oh, it was the chains. It was the E. It wasn't even the Q. And you were right. You were right. The Supers got the Nexus Torch down before. Man, they made Bid's life pretty easy.
Yeah, Bid just needed to turn up, hit Nexus a couple of times, plus 50 gold. Like, that was not going to be a good play for Weibo, whatever happened. And that does worry me a little bit. We were talking a lot about how Weibo was shaky at the start of the split. Really got their feet under them, but what was happening in the start of the split was both Xiaohu playing bad individually in lane, that didn't happen in this game, he was fine, but their team play overall was shaky. It felt like the communication just wasn't there. It felt like they had cleaned it up, but this game was quite reminiscent of the start of the split.
All right, player of the game, Bloxxer, do you think you're going to give it over to Viper?
I feel like Viper is a very, very easy choice right here. He was just constantly landing all of that damage. Good chains of corruptions. He only got caught once down in the bottom lane. Other than that, was constantly playing out pretty safe. I like your call of On, though. On really did have himself a very fun Bard game.
I also think, like, Knight, I didn't see him miss, like, a single clutch seismic shove. And it's that classic...
It's a Talia performance, though. Like...
Yeah, I know, but here's the problem is, like, it's, people call it voter fraud. It's like Knight just plays at such a high level. Wow, okay, they give it a bid. Okay. I guess. I mean, he does win them the game, so you can't get mad at him getting this player of the game. I don't know. I see a pretty disappointed look from you, Bloxxer.
That's one of the least ethical player of the games I think I've ever seen. Like, he does do a lot of damage in that game, and at the point in which he hits 2.5 items, he's just a drain tank. He is so annoying to play against. You watch that one fight where he's just chasing poor Xiaohu round in circles, and there's nothing that Xiaohu can do, but he gets caught on bot lane twice. In one of those team fights that Bilibili Gaming ended up losing, he didn't go top lane to split push, and he didn't join the team fight. He had the worst of both worlds going on.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad BIM performance by any means, but I'm not quite sure it was player of the game worthy.
Well, we saw in the vote split up there that it was actually pretty close. I think it was 2 votes on, 2 votes Viper, 4 votes Bin. So it seems like our committee over there couldn't really make their minds up. So you can make up your mind who the player of the game is. Let me tell you all, though, who the player of the stream is. And it's not just a one-person award. It's all of you guys at home, and it's thanks in large part to our coffee supporters. So if you'd like to support LPL English, you could consider becoming a coffee member. Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English project, since a vast majority of your contributions will go directly into the show itself. A lot of the initial payments go to upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and content creators. Subscribe to our coffee, it is linked in the chat below, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. So shout out all of our coffee supporters. You are the player of the stream. So I want to give you that award. We've had one player of the game go down, and God, Bloxxer, the most chaotic start that we could think of to this series. And I wouldn't have it in any other way, but we've got a lot longer of a road forward. We're going to take a short break, allow you guys some time to peruse the coffee menu. And when we get back, we'll see if Weibo Gaming have a response to a catastrophic Game 1 finish in our Best of 5 series.